Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
Good job.
Awesome.
Hi, guys. Look who's in our living room.
Yay.
Plumb, Tiffany, our friend that we got to know on Winter Jam.
Yep.
Our tea drinking buddy.
Yep.
I had a fangirl moment when you drove up because we realized talking this morning that the very first song we did when it was his band and me joining his band was one of your songs.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
It was like, yeah, my favorite. I mean, your first record was like,
Oh.
I've probably never told you, but major fan from day one.
Thanks, Jody.
I know. I don't know if you
Thanks.
did you like your first record?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything I've done, I did the best I could do at the time. And I
Yeah.
look back now at anything I've done, and there's like, as you've grown, you look back and think, oh, I wish that was more
Yeah.
whatever, fill in
Yeah.
the blank with whatever. But it is what it was. And
Yeah.
so, so I do.
You were like the Cranberries for me.
Ah.
I went back and looked at your
I'll
record
take
covers.
that. I'll take that.
And we were huge. Like we connected musically first, like over anything else. We were just buddies, and he like introduced me to Dido and like just lots of great music. But we both loved
And
the
what
Cranberries.
happened to her?
I know.
Right?
I think she,
That's so true.
just got tired of touring.
I
She's a
guess.
lawyer. Maybe she's
And
like,
then
what
the
am I
Cranberries,
doing?
I mean, she died.
Oh, rest in peace.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
So intense this last couple of years
Yeah.
of musical people that we
For
love.
sure.
So we toured in a kind of like a worship collective for a while, and then Jody asked me to come play at her church. She said, we're going to do this song by Plumb
Yeah.
called God-Shaped Hole.
Did you really?
Oh yeah,
And that
I
was, like,
fully
the
did.
first-
Yep.
The first time that I came to play at her church.
Yeah.
Now, we've
That's
been
what we
friends
played.
for years now, guys, and I didn't know this. So,
Well, it was just a funny and amazing memory for me because you've been a big influence from afar. Like we're from Canada. Your music reached me when there was nobody reaching me at all. Like my mom liked Amy Grant, and when I say that, like I loved the Cranberries, but I didn't like love I didn't know her. I didn't
right, sure.
connect
like
in that
her
way.
influence, yeah.
But I connected to you and the way you looked and what you said. The line at the end, that's my point of view. I was like, nobody says that. I don't know. Was that like a last minute thing
Yeah.
to put it in?
It was because they didn't like the name God-Shaped Hole because they thought it sounded like
really?
butthole.
Right.
Oh, man.
And so they were like, we got to change the name of the song. And I was like, well, this is just my perspective. So I guess I'll just say that's my point of view. So we were going to call it Point of View.
No
So I added
way.
that to call it Point of View. And then I was like, no, it is called God-Shaped Hole. It's just, that's what it is.
That's,
It's
yeah.
based off of a C.S. Lewis conversation with somebody
Yeah.
about like this vacuum in all of us, blah, blah, blah.
No way.
And it was like, no, the name's God-Shaped Hole. And if that's off-putting to somebody, then don't play it, I guess.
Yeah. See, that's what I love though, because it's taken me years to be able to do that. To be like, no, this is what my heart
It
wants
gets
to
me in
say.
trouble. It gets me in trouble, though.
Yeah, but you know what? Good for you. And I'm dead serious. Like, I always thought I would have girls, and we have 2 boys, because I thought, man, I'm learning what a strong woman is. I'm learning how to be that. I was raised to be that. It's just taken me a while to really walk it out.
Yeah.
And it always will. Like, I think something about being in church and being allowed to play offertory on piano, but not necessarily being welcomed to rock out, like leave something, you know,
right.
this residue of like, I can't be strong and soft. I can't be
Right.
strong and submitted to the Lord, but you can.
Yep.
And the more you know him, the stronger you are and the softer you are. And I feel like
I think you
embody
even
that.
find that in having boys, because I have 2 boys too.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think that you, like, that pulls a little bit. No disrespect to people that don't have sons, and
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you can't be strong as well. But
Yeah.
I think little boys definitely pull something out of you that's like, you know, I can't even describe it, but it's
No.
just something.
I feel you. It's like, I know that you're made to have who you have, and so you never give it another thought. We just only have nieces, and I have a sister and a brother, and we just kind of thought we'd have girls. I'm so, like, I can't imagine life any other way.
Oh, it's like free passes for boyfriends.
Yes.
Like I have
Which-
crushes on them.
You took them for pedicures. I saw that on your Instagram, and I was like, babe,
Yes.
I can take them for pedicures. We can have tea parties.
Oh, we did that the other day. My middle, Oliver, wanted to bake with his buddy because he was craving chocolate. He was like, I want chocolate cake. And I was like, well, then you have to bake it. And so he
that's
did.
good.
And after he did, he was like, well, can we have like English tea and make this like a tea and cake? And he was saying it almost like he was like an old English scholar or something.
Aww.
And so they sat down and I was like, you know what? This is awesome because like my daughter and I have tea parties that are more, a little more fancy.
Yeah.
And his was more just like they were, pretending to be old men, and it was just so awesome.
Because they just want to be with you.
They do.
Has that faded as they've gotten older? Like,
not yet.
Okay.
I have been told that we're a bit of an anomaly in that regard because my 13, like when my husband travels, he's 13 years old and he'll be like, can I sleep with you? Can I sleep with you since dad's not here? And like openly, like without even looking left or right, will still just give me a kiss right on the mouth just to be like, bye Mom, I love you. And I have lots of moms that are like, he still kisses you, and I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I've never made that weird either.
yeah.
I kind of prepared myself for like, you got 10 years of Milo and now Ziggy, so like 12 years, but like sort of that 10-year window of your boys are going to love you more than anything else.
Right.
Like, I need to soak that up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
He comes up to me, is like, yep.
Oh yeah. Do it.
Yeah.
I think in general, just, I don't know where I learned this from, but my knee-jerk reaction, even with parenting, is like, it's only weird to them if you make it weird.
Yeah.
And so I've even been like, and this might sound a little racy, but like I was even cautious to not be like, oh, don't come in mommy's room, I'm changing, like when they were 2 and 3 and 4, like when they were little. But as soon as it was like, oh, like I don't want to see that, then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, close my door.
Yeah.
But I never made it like,
Right.
and it was like,
And they kind of let you know.
they just kind of let you know. So
Yeah.
I just didn't make it weird, and I let them kind of give me their,
I'm realizing that their natural reactions and even natural consequence is such a better teacher
yeah.
than me,
Oh yeah.
because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm 2 years into this and I'm just like, woo.
Well, let's be honest. If we play a festival in the middle of the day, 3 p.m. in Texas, you get to your hotel,
Yeah.
everything's coming off. I don't
Yes,
care.
yes.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Well,
oh,
and,
yeah.
and nursing changes all that
Oh,
too.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, I'm still nursing Ziggy. He's 11 months old. And so I'm walking around naked all the time.
Yeah.
We have very friendly neighbors. So I have to be a little cautious.
And,
I thought you were about to say we have really friendly neighbors, so we just let them come in. And I was like, wow,
You know what?
that's
Well,
amazing.
you're like, wow. Canadians that aren't super shy. I've never met those kind.
We have blinds. Okay.
No, but for real, I learned that the hard way because we had so much company when Milo was born, because we went on the road at 6 weeks.
Yeah, I remember
Thinking
you
about it now
did.
is
You got started
mental.
right away.
Yeah. And so I didn't realize how precious that was.
Yeah.
So, and we love our family. We're close to both sides. So we're like, come on, come all. But I was like, I don't know what I'm doing yet with this whole nursing thing.
Yeah.
And there is a line for me when my father-in-law is sitting on my couch and I need to be on my couch. So I learned the hard way. And with Ziggy, I was like, so you ain't coming over. Nobody, because I want to just be free
Right.
in my house for 6
Right.
weeks and figure this thing out. Because I think I can do all things at the same time.
Right.
No.
No.
With that, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I really needed to like honor that time. Anyway, this is
No,
digress-
but I get it. I get it. And it's
Yeah.
just like life is this teacher.
Yes.
And I think honestly, in all of that, when our kids just see us be human and be like, you know what? Actually, I don't know what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And I've told my mom this, so I have permission to say this, that growing up, I didn't think she ever made mistakes. And she was amazing. And I talk a lot about her in this book that I wrote. But
yes, your new book.
which that wasn't like a,
No.
I wrote a new book. No, it was.
No, you need to, because everybody needs to read it, including me. I want to read it too.
Well, but I talk about her in it, and I was like, Mom, I want you to know that the one thing I did say, because I wasn't negative, because I spent a tremendous amount of time being really selfish and unkind and disrespectful to my mother. And so there was this, we were never estranged, but there was this conflict. And we have reconciled that. But I told her, I said, I think in the purpose of being real and authentic, I need to at least point out like what I'm talking about in the book that's relevant to this conversation is that she wasn't good about saying, you know what, I'm wrong. I actually made a really big mistake and I'm really sorry. And it wasn't because she didn't make mistakes, but it was that she felt like if I let you know that I've totally messed up, then that will somehow discredit my authority in your life. And I know that I need to be one. So I need to maintain, I've got this. And so it wasn't intentional of her trying to be prideful. It was her being afraid that like, if you see me mess up, then that might, you know, have an adverse effect that's not. And it was like, on the contrary, I actually needed to see her go, I don't know what the heck I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm so sorry. And so we have that relationship now. She's better about that now. But I think our kids need to see us go, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
I was wrong. And so don't be afraid to mess
and
up.
apologize and all those things.
Yes.
Already done that a lot. Oh man. And they don't even know yet. Like Ziggy isn't going to go, it's okay, mama. But it's starting with Milo. He's 2 in a couple months. And this morning I saw him go up to Ziggy and go, when Ziggy did something new, so proud of you, Ziggy. So proud of you. And I was like, wow, the things we say out loud, like, did he just learn that? Did you say that? I don't know how he learned that.
Where did he learn it? Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, they pick up on all of it already.
Yeah.
You're right. And I want to apologize. Because I feel like I hardly get it right. Anyways, how do you do that? How do you write a book and tour and do mom, like, because I saw you doing all those things, because the first Winter Jam, so all the girls are in one room on Winter Jam. For people that maybe don't know, it's not glam time.
It's not glam time.
No.
It's like a locker room.
It is literally locker room.
It literally is, yeah.
Communal showers.
And for the females, it's usually like the smallest visitor locker room.
Right. Well, because
Here's
on
your
Winter Jam,
closet.
they only like take out one girl or 2 girls.
That we need to change.
They need to change that.
Eddie, we're calling you.
Yep. So yeah, that's why it's smaller.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller. But the cool thing is we get to know each other fast and furious. It's just like, wow.
Can I borrow your this? Can I borrow your that?
Yes, your really nice eucalyptus smelling shampoo. I borrowed that and now I use it. So, you know.
do? That's so great.
Oh man, totally. It made the whole room feel fresh. I was like,
it.
okay, I can do this.
I love it.
Me and Tiff can always share. This works. Because you don't feel like that about everyone, because you can't.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's
it's all
true.
good. It's all good. But I watched you penning your book. Was that, I watched in amazement. I didn't have kids yet, but you did. So I was watching you bring Sweet Clementine in, and you guys would do makeup, and then you had your friend come in, you were like editing on the fly, and then you'd get up and you'd rock out.
Yeah. It was a lot. And when I look back, I feel more tired than I was at the time. And I think that like when you go up to somebody with twins and you say, how do you do that?
Yes.
It's like, well, they don't really know anything different.
Yeah, that's their world.
And I think that's what it is. I think that in my life, something has to be done. So I do it. And so I don't have this like, okay, I'm going to plan this so that I can do. I think it's more of okay. And I have to be intentional about certain things. That's more about my time with my family and my boundaries. Like that's where I'm more intentional.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is like, okay, I have to write this. So I just have to kind of, instead of swallowing the ocean, I just take a day at a time and say, today I have to work on these chapters, which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so to write, having experienced that and writing another book, I was like, okay, it's one of those seasons where you're not as present with your kids, but the long-term effect of like what this book's value hopefully will compensate for that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so there are times for those of you with kids, there are sometimes if you're, clearly my book is not more important than my children, but I think sometimes when you're doing something of kingdom worth, if you're really called to that, you have to trust that the Lord is going to provide for the places that you can't be. So it's like, would it be of great value for me to be with my daughter? Yes. But if I really need to write this book, if I'm really called to write this book, the time I'm spending on it, I've got to trust that he's going to take care of her. And so he did. Like there was all kinds of things in our community and relationships that filled those voids because I did have to be absent at times. And sometimes I was physically present, but mentally somewhere else. And then sometimes I was literally like, I have to go rent a hotel room for the night and just sit with this.
Yeah.
And so you make sacrifices and hopefully not compromises in a way that you shouldn't. And then you look back and it's done. And so honestly,
yeah,
I don't know exactly how it got done.
Don't know.
And isn't it, I mean, this is a bigger topic, and we just watched the Serena Williams documentary.
Oh, wow.
So, but thinking about how for a woman it's a sacrifice, but for a man, it's, you know, it's just that's my daily job.
Right.
It's just what I do.
Right.
And just watching her kind of journey, having a baby after winning the Australian Open,
Right.
and then taking a year to care for her, and then coming back, and she just lost in the final at Wimbledon. So
Right.
like a year and a half later,
Yeah.
after having a baby, she's back on the court, and
Right.
and the sacrifices that she had to make
Right.
to get
Right.
back on the court.
Right.
It's like, but that's who she is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's not a sacrifice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there is what the world kind of paints as what a woman and a man, you know, it needs to look like, mom and dad, all that stuff. There's also, I'm realizing since becoming a mom, the genuine real struggle though of that feeling, that tug of, I want to be with you, but this is important, and just figuring out how to navigate that,
Right.
regardless of what the world kind of ensues, you
Yes.
know. And I'm trying to figure that out, and that's good for me to hear, because I think I need to look at the big picture.
Well, it's like that still small voice is really your only true compass.
It really is.
I mean, it's like the true north comes in of like, okay, I need to make you a snack, or I need to read you a story before nap time, or I
Yeah.
need to take you out on the road with me, or
Yep.
and it's like you just have to balance it, and like you know, something that's super black and white is like, if it's your child's birthday,
Right.
put everything down, right?
Yeah.
Like that's super obvious, but the
Right.
rest
Yeah.
of parenting, the rest of life is not always as black and white.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to like listen to that gut and say,
Yeah.
you know what? I love you. Are you safe? And our marriage and family therapist that we've gone to since we were engaged, she said something really important, and I have it on my fridge. Do your children feel valued? And she said, when you hear the word value, if you really analyze it, like if you look at a number like 123, well, the 3 is a unit, the 2 is the tens, and the 1 is the hundreds. Like they actually have a place value. And so she said, when you think of your children, do they have value? Like in this home, like Milo, does he know that like I'm the fill in the blank? Like I'm the this in this family. I have a value here. And so she was like, if your children know beyond the shadow of a doubt what their value is, what their role in this home is. Like we have 3 children. For instance, Oliver is our adventurer, our happy, like great attitude all the time. So I remind him of how like, man, when you're not around, there's not that aspect. Like we need you. So do they feel valued? And then,
I love
you know,
that.
undeniably, am I loved? If those 2 answers are yes, don't sweat the rest of it. Like knowing you're loved and you're valued is so incredibly important. So when you have to say, you know what, I actually can't be at your game today because I have a show. Like I've had to do that. And that I hate that. Because
Yeah.
I remember being like idealistic and thinking, I will never miss a game. I will never miss, like, I'm going to be
Right.
that mom. But I think there's tremendous value in my children seeing me have priorities and have
Yes.
passions and be responsible.
Yep.
And say, you know what, I hate to miss your game, but I'm going to call you the second it's over and check and see if you won or not. I want to see pictures. I want to hear about it, but I can't be. And that's not to say miss all your kids' games, but it's just
Right.
if you have to not beat yourself up that ultimately I was doing, you know, if I'm somewhere that I'm really supposed to be, I'm really
Yeah.
called to be, then, you know, that other stuff, like, you know, I remember grandparents showed up at the game, or like
Yeah.
extra friends from our small group came to the game.
Yeah.
And he had a great day. So it was like, I didn't have to like beat myself up. So,
Yeah. And I
anyway.
think sometimes it's so good for our kids to learn and see and grow with other people other than us.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, like I was very idealistic. My grandparents were at all my basketball games. My dad was my coach. All of my family lived within 5 minutes of each other. And now we live in Nashville.
Yeah.
With no grandparents close by. And we've had to rely, like right now, Milo's outside with his teacher from daycare's daughter. And they have made our family a priority. And they're so sweet. They come over whenever we need them. And we've had to make family be wherever we are, get to know
Right.
people quick. And like at our,
Like chosen family is,
yeah.
we call
Yeah.
it framily. Like
That's
we
good.
like put like an R in there because it's like
Yeah.
they're like friends that become
Yeah.
that chosen group of people that help
Yeah.
you raise your family. And I think
Yeah.
it affects your kids in ways that are really beautiful, that they get to experience, like the beauty that you had of having like the everybody close. That's great.
Yeah.
And that's your story.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like your boys have a different story.
Yeah.
And God's in charge of that. Like,
totally.
you know, he's going to complete the work he started. So
Yeah.
they grew up in Nashville and not Canada. That's going to be part of their story, and it's
Yeah.
going to be beautiful. So
Yeah.
I've because I'm like into mine are 9, 11, and 13. I'm now out of the zone of just like, I'm a horrible mother.
Yeah.
I've left that zone and been like, maybe I was a horrible mother, but they're okay.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
They're doing fine.
They go for pedicures with me.
They do.
I got away with it.
I got away with it.
And it's true. Like, even with Ziggy as the second one, I looked at his little knees today, and like Milo was the first when he started crawling. I was like, oh, your poor knees, honey. Let's put sweats on you. Like, I celebrated that Ziggy knows how to do a barrel roll off the deck. It's like things
Right.
change.
Yes,
with each
exactly.
one. Oh my word. Well, okay, this is a funny one, but have you reflected at all? Because I mean, your first record came out 99?
97.
Okay, 97. And it's like 2018. So when you look back, is this how you thought it would look? Have you done the things that you hoped you would do? Have there been like moments that you would have never dreamed that were way more fulfilling than what you hoped you would do? Like,
Yeah. Man, yes and no to some of all of that.
Yeah.
Some and all of that. That's like the most ambiguous answer.
no, but it's a big question. It's just I was
Yeah.
hit with how much you have done. Like, because not a lot, I don't look to a lot of females that have had, is this your 7th record?
I kind of lost count. Maybe
Yeah.
8. It might
Like,
be
you've
8.
done a lot of records. You've done
Yeah.
2 books. You've had babies. Like, there's just been a lot, I'm sure, of joy and sorrow.
Like I remember always wanting to get married. I always
Yep.
wanted to have kids. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, check.
Yeah.
Didn't plan to do music as a career, even though I always sang. So when that came as an option, it was like, okay.
More of a writer?
No, I sang with a hairbrush in front of the mirror, like,
Yeah.
you know, but I was probably going to be a nurse one day in my mind. Like, that's probably what I'll be. Struggled with a lot of like panic attack, anxiety stuff with like stomach issues as a teenager. So I was like, I'd like to work in the medical field because maybe I could help have a compassion there and an empathy.
Yeah.
Mike Weaver calls me a musical nurse now.
That's good. But music therapy is like a big thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I
but
like
it's
it.
like I just sang for fun, strictly for fun. And when I was offered to sing backup for the first time when I was like 19, and that led into singing backup for Amy Grant, things like that, that it was like,
Whoa, I
how
didn't
did
know
this?
that.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
So I started out singing backup for Bill Gaither's son's rock band called Benjamin. And then that led to whenever they were touring, whoever we were opening for using me, which was a lady named Lisa Bevel. And then that led to, well, Amy Grant's making a record, you know, who's the brunette? Because that's my natural color. And so I was an alto, so they used me on her records. And then it just kind of snowballed into studio work.
Wow.
And then a label called one day, and I really did think it was for more background vocals. And they were like, would you like a record deal? That's the short version.
Wow.
And I was like, sure, I guess. So I signed my life away because I found a lawyer in the Yellow Book, like
Right.
Yellow Pages or whatever.
Right.
Do you have those in Canada, Yellow Pages?
Yes.
And so I was literally learning I had no plan to do that. So there was no
Right. You weren't like,
There's no expectation. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, let me see how this goes. And then after I got into it, start developing a plan. And there was a season where I really wanted to be really rich and really famous.
yeah.
And I would say otherwise, but I would secretly really want it to be like huge on the pop charts. Mm-hmm. And I read something recently where it said, someone posted something about like, someone is wanting to be where you are. And so for me, it kind of sums up your question of like,
Yeah.
there's been moments where I've been very like disappointed that I didn't get this tour, or that my song's not number one, or that I wasn't nominated, or that I didn't win the award. And comparing, really struggling with
Yeah.
comparing of like
Yeah.
my social media numbers, or, my,
Right.
the charts or whatever, sales. And then at the same time realizing, you know what, there's someone out there that wishes they were married with 3 kids and had been making music and paying their bills doing it,
Yeah.
regardless of whether things have happened radio, film, television, whatever, like,
Yeah.
I have someone's dream life.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to just be thankful for it.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff that I kind of hope for, kind of evaluating, like, are those just me wanting that, you know, old me of a little more money or a little more fame? Or is it me wanting to be faithful?
Yeah.
And so I really want faithfulness to be, my grandfather, when he passed away, his epitaph said, forgiven. That was it. It was just that one word. And I thought that was so powerful. Like, he didn't say like beloved husband and father or whatever. He was like, he had said before he ever passed away, he was like, I want my epitaph to just say forgiven, because I haven't been a great father and husband at times. And I haven't been a great, but ultimately I am forgiven. That's all that matters. And I thought, what's my one word? And it was faithful. Like I haven't been, that's what I want to ultimately pursue, like that to be what motivates how I am with my kids, how I am with my spouse, how I am with my career. And opportunities that you get. Is this faithful?
Yeah.
So even back to what we were talking about a second ago with your kids, what's the most faithful thing to do right now? If they really need me, you know what? This can wait.
Yeah.
And you go to your children.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know what? You're fine. You're okay. This really needs me.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like you may have just uncovered something for me about when people talk about balance. You know, it's such a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Like, how do you find balance? And I'm always like, I don't a lot of days.
I try.
You know, but maybe it's beyond balance, because balance is sort of a temporary thing, whereas faithfulness and consistency is something we build and we grow in, and the Lord is always.
Yeah.
So he's always teaching us how to be. But I feel like when you're, as an artist and creative, as a mother, and all the roles that you are in, if you find those nuggets underneath the fame and fortune, like if you give your career and your life time to unfold,
Yeah.
and you're always learning from it, like you said, it's always a teacher, then those are the things that keep you going with joy
Yeah.
and passion.
Yeah.
And it's way beyond the tours. It's way beyond all those little tiny things.
Because we could set like this goal, like I want to have a number one.
Right.
Well, then what happens when you have one?
Right.
You're done? Like, are you truly fulfilled and satisfied? No,
Right.
you're not. Because you're
No.
like, how about another number one? Or
Right.
how about da-da-da? And like, there's always something. And
There's
so I
always
feel like I
something.
had to, at some point,
Yeah.
I've learned that maybe the hard way, but pulled back and said, hold on.
But I think
Is
there
God
is,
pleased with me?
and there is no other way to learn than the hard way, I feel like, when I'm learning the hard stuff. There really
I mean,
isn't.
kids don't learn how to walk without falling down 470,000 times. Like,
Exactly.
if we literally held their hands the whole time and never let them hit the ground,
Yeah.
they would never actually learn to walk. And I
Yeah.
think that is such a great, like, example to
Yes.
everything of, like, sometimes we just have to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And
It's so true. And publicly often
Yeah.
when you're doing what we do, which can be really humiliating
Yeah.
and really humbling. Like,
sometimes we can actually fall off the stage. Jody, we can do that. We can also.
I was listening to you from the side when it happened, and all of a sudden I'm like, but I still hear her singing, which is why you're such a rock star.
Wasn't that crazy? I'm still like.
she didn't miss a beat. She's still singing. She was my hero, and now is even more of my hero.
Feel free to Google Plumb falls off stage. Like, you literally just Google that and it comes up
Man.
and you click and there it is. And it's just, I've never showed it to anybody without them going, oh, like they make some sort of
There's
physical
a reaction.
Like, oh.
But there you
the
go.
best part is that what you're wearing, it's like all of a sudden you just see this like
Poof. It was like it was it almost seemed intentional. I'm not going to lie. Because
Yeah,
it was
like
so
the
well
timing.
executed.
No, ping. Yeah. Oh,
And your
man.
docs were there to like
They were.
cushion you a little bit.
They were. They were.
I mean, that's a bit of your staple. I love that.
Thanks.
I think you guys
Plum.
have the same shoes.
Plumb and the edge falling off stage.
It happened
see
within
that?
months of
Yes.
each other.
Oh man. And they weren't far apart, so they were like, "Don't feel too bad." And I'm like, "Okay, the edge did it. All right."
Oh man, Tiff, you're amazing. But I'm serious. I love that you live just. I don't know. I don't feel like there's anything I couldn't ask you.
Oh, you
No,
go
but
for
that's
it.
great. I want to parent like that. I want to be that person, which is why we wanted to do this, because I feel like sometimes there's this perception that we just know how to answer everything perfectly in 15 seconds on the radio.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you just can't go anywhere in 15 seconds. And we've sort of had the opposite. We're coming at our careers from such different places. Like
Yeah.
we've been singing since probably the same time you released your record.
Yeah.
But with like zero success or notoriety until as of late, which is still very small, but still trippy that people are singing our songs back to us, you know? So I feel like we've come from different spots, which is why I love God so much, because it's like now here we are sitting and I'm just like, wow, we just bring our stories and now we're part of each other's story and it's super cool. But anyway, all that to say, I don't even know what my point was, but I'm new to this thing and we only get to play for 10, 15 minutes for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And so this just feels like a chance to stretch out and say what you want to say. 'Cause
I think it's great. I think that I really do. Because I mean, being around you in the times that I've been with you, you have innate wisdom. Like there is, like you're ahead of yourself in years with wisdom and just your perspective on things and like the grace that you show in everything to me is ahead of you. And I feel like this is a huge part of what you have to offer. That is that little nugget that you're talking about. That you have, because there's a lot of people that can't do that, you know? I mean, I don't know if you'll notice, but you don't have any notes. Like you're literally just having good conversation and you're just, you know, you're being able to kind of be known more, but then engaging with someone else to do the same thing. And I think that's really, really
well, it
great.
helps
And
when
I
you're
love that you do
talking
it
to
together.
someone. Oh man, we tried to do it apart. We're just strange. Like nothing worked until it
My
went.
voice is not 100% right now, so I'm kind of like in the background, but
Oh no,
okay
you're
for
no. But
choice.
I just love that you are like a team. I
Yeah.
love the team element to you.
Well, you guys too. Like people don't know your hubby maybe the same way people know us doing it together on stage, but you guys are team
Yeah,
all the way.
yeah. Couldn't do it by myself for sure. He's a huge strength. And I was describing him yesterday to somebody about how, like all along, because there was something from Dawson's Creek.
Oh, I used to skip
Yes.
chemistry to go watch that show.
It was like a quote on how to determine if someone is your soulmate, and it was like a quote from
man.
Dawson's Creek.
Yes, Dawson's Creek wisdom. Give it to us.
But it's like, I mean, I was describing how, like, because I'm on the Enneagram. Are you into the Enneagram at all?
Just kind of got into it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a 4, and like, which is the hopeless romantic, the dreamer, the feeler, and I want everything to be like a movie. And life isn't always like a movie. Sometimes, if it is like a movie, sometimes it's a tragedy.
it is like in the way that behind the scenes of a
Yeah,
movie.
the behind the
It's
scenes of
chaos.
a movie. Yes, yes, yes.
Good. Yeah.
And I was, talking about how, like, after we've been married, it'll be 18 years in October, but New Year's will be 20 years together.
Wow.
And it's like highs and lows and in-betweens and how to keep that, like, flame still lit and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? He makes me feel safe and less anxious. I'm a very anxious person. And so it's like I feel safe when I'm with him. I feel less anxious when I'm with him. And I'm better. Like who he is and what he's about challenges me to be more than what I was kind of raised to be. And hopefully vice versa.
Yeah.
I do know that he dresses totally different than he did when I met him, which I love.
You do
because-
rub off on each other.
You do.
You do.
And I'm like, I totally rubbed off on his fashion, which is like, yes. Because I met him and he was like in a button-up Oxford with like khaki pants and like Nautica boots.
Wow.
I remember
You
that.
guys
And I was
are
like,
on a little different
whoa,
pages there.
what's going on there? And I had on Docs. Like I was like,
Yeah.
what's he so cute? But he's dressed like he works at Abercrombie and Fitch. No disrespect to Abercrombie and Fitch.
Right.
But it was like,
Although the smell that comes out of that store, I can't go in it. Like that cologne smell.
It's too much. It's too much. But anyway,
Brought to you by Abercrombie.
Brad, do that.
They're
yeah.
never sponsoring. They're never sponsoring us.
But just of how like that kind of stuff, when you get caught up in the butterflies and the like wanting it to
Yes.
be, it's like you forget like safe
Right.
and
like the
and
big
better
things.
and like the things that actually really matter. And it's like,
Oh man.
focus on those.
You're so right. I mean, The Bachelorette is not about that.
Oh my gosh,
it's just
right?
not about that. So no,
Right?
that's so important though, because there's no way your list of like, I hope for this and this when you were 15 is the same that you're commending him on now.
Right.
But it's just time as a teacher.
I had a list, and I think somewhere
we
on
all-
there it said
we do.
like I didn't want chest hair. Like it was
right,
on my
'cause
list.
When
like
you're,
like
when
that
you're 15,
matters.
you're like, no, just like the hot bod, no chest hair. I know. We all have our lists. Come on, let's be honest.
Brad Pitt never had chest hair.
What?
Brad Pitt never had chest hair.
And his marriages have been
Oh.
yeah. Anyways,
Which one?
no, but I mean, it's good to be honest about this stuff. It's actually been so interesting opening up the conversation a little broader, because I've realized, even for myself, podcasts are a place I go to sometimes have conversations I've not had.
Right.
Which is interesting.
I
to
know.
me.
I think that's a great way to say it, because as soon as they're talking,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Right.
I think that, but I've never thought that, but I think that.
Right.
You know, and so it's like someone gives words to thoughts or emotions that you have or have had, but you didn't really. And I love my best friend Melissa is really good at putting words to things when I'm like describing how I feel or think about something, and she's like, well, it's kind of like you're saying blah blah blah, and it's like, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I didn't say it like that, but now that you've said it like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like you're listening in on a conversation that maybe you didn't even know you needed to have or wanted to have,
Yeah.
but it's inviting you in. And I feel like some of the conversations we've been in CCM, quote unquote. I didn't even know what that meant when I was in Canada. But
Well, for Canadians, that's the brand of a hockey stick.
yeah.
Oh.
So we didn't know, but people are like, oh, you're a CCM band. We're like, sure.
We don't use hockey sticks.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know how. But now that I know what it is and sort of what it represents, there's so many amazing things about it. The best thing is the people I've met with in it, but there's also a lack of true conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just, I don't know what it is. We've grown up with certain, like, this is okay to talk about, this isn't within this.
Right.
I have no other language for it. But something consistently coming back at Chris and I, which has surprised me, is, can you guys talk marriage? I think you don't think you have anything to offer. That's how I feel. Like when people say that to me, we always joke like, oh, just marry someone you like and go on coffee dates. But then I'm like, no, people like actually really want.
You just said that.
But we don't actually stop and go, oh, no, they're serious. Like I think they actually want to go, they'd like to ask some real questions about this. And you don't shy away from that stuff. So I love that. And I've always learned from you in that way.
Thanks.
And I think marriage is one of those areas. And you joked about like how to keep it alive and sizzly and hot, but that's like real life.
Oh,
Like you've
it's
been
real
married
life.
18 or with your husband 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. It's not the same butterflies as when you first went out and saw him.
It's not. And there's like, again, like if you can kind of force yourself to think back to what the good stuff is of like, I feel safe when I'm with you. I feel protected. I feel, I'm less anxious. I am challenged to do something I wouldn't have done. And those are all so important, like very important. But I definitely get distracted by, him walking in and deciding that the kitchen is the laundry room. And I'm like, seriously? Like that's so, and like what I would have, like if we were dating, which hopefully he wouldn't have disrobed in the kitchen when we were dating, but it's like, or newlyweds, I guess, where you're just like, oh, that's so cute. He just leaves his fun,
Right. Like you just have so much like
And-
love and.
Right. You're just gushing that everything they do is just endearing. And then now you're like, and like that will trouble me where I'll just be like, you know what? And I'm calling him at work and saying, maybe I should or shouldn't say this, but I just felt really disrespected this morning when I had just swept the kitchen and you cut the grass and then you took your overalls off like in there before you went to the, what? And we're arguing about something.
Yeah.
I don't have warm and fuzzies about him in that moment.
Uh-huh.
And to be honest, it's kind of like, and you can just take your time coming home later today.
Right.
And I'm not washing these.
Right.
You're going to walk in the door and you're going to wash them. And that's not a romantic conversation.
Right.
But if you let enough of that happen, then it really becomes a disconnect. And so after almost 20 years of being married, separated once, almost got a divorce, remarried, and had this beautiful like reconciliation story. But then I've been out on the road telling that story for like 5+ years now. And don't you think that like the enemy does not want me to share that story? So we've already had other issues where we've had to be like, you know what? We need some time together. Like tomorrow night, he doesn't even know this. But I booked us at a place to go away to spend the night at that's literally 3 miles from our house. Like it's just down the street.
Yeah.
But it's not our house.
Yeah.
There's no children there. And I don't even know what'll happen, guys. It may just be conversation.
Right.
Like it's possible that we might spend the night in a hotel and it's just conversation.
Right.
And that's okay
Yeah.
if that's you, because sometimes like having meaningful conversation to reconnect.
That's foreplay. Come on.
It is.
I can't be
It
like,
is.
let's get it
Well,
on
wait,
when I haven't
that's what
talked to you all
happens
day.
Bachelorette, right?
Yeah.
Fantasy suites. It's just conversation.
And I'm one of
Yeah.
those where it's like, if you have enough of the mundane and enough of the busy and enough of that, where there's this disconnect, to connect that way is very difficult, where you're like, it almost, and it's not, but it almost feels dirty, where you're like, why are you all up on me?
We're not
Because
here. We're
you know,
here. Like, what is that?
like, look in my eyes.
But you're
have a
here.
conversation.
I'm not.
I'm not. We gotta get there. So, you know, you can pray about our date night tomorrow night. But but it's just one of those things that's real life, and we want it all to look like Instagram so bad. But I've appreciated. There's been a few people lately that have posted real, and like they've been like no makeup and swollen and you know, whatever, of just like, this is actually what is real. Yeah. And Caitlin Crosby, the girl that started the Giving Keys, she posted something the other day that way, and she was like, and here's me an hour later after I put on makeup and I put a filter on, and they are like night and day different. But she was like, but what is real is the girl on the left, and you need to know that. And so for somebody out there that's feeling like crappy because they don't look like the girl on the right, the girl on the left is actually who I really am, and you should feel connected to that. And
that's who your husband sees first thing in the morning.
That is who he sees.
And that's not the same butterflies as like going on a date before you're married and being like, hey, you know,
fresh breath spearmint.
Right. It's like, that's not life 18 years later. But it's sweeter and deeper if we put in the time to let it become that. Yeah. But it's like,
there's a richness to it. There's a value. There's a worth.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
We've started, so Chris will light a candle. And I think as a new mom, I just was like missing the cues. I was just like, whoa, not same page when it came to like hanging out the two of us in the bedroom or wherever. Right. Mainly the shower, actually, in those first couple of days. But yeah, so he'd light a candle, and it was really good, actually. And he would do it like way earlier than necessary to be like, hey, Jode. And I've actually passed that on to a ton of my friends, because I didn't do it intentionally, but over tea parties, honesty comes, you know? Yes. And a couple of my friends were just like, oh my word, I'm actually going to use that too, in reverse, for my husband, to just be like, I'm going to light this at 5 so that maybe by 8 we're on the same page with this. So
I like that.
I don't know.
It's very subtle.
Yeah.
But it's like obvious at the same time.
Bit of a little cue.
Where to go?
Well, if you have any, you've been married longer than us, so if you have any little tips, well, you do. You're going to a hotel 3 miles from your house.
3 miles from my house,
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot. Like when you get engaged, when you're newlyweds and all that, it's just you guys. There's a lot more going on at this point.
It's little things. It's not, it doesn't have to be like grand. I mean, grand gestures are obviously very nice. Right. But, you know, it's just that little, all of a sudden it tweaks, and you're like kind of what you're saying, the still small voice. But
in that regard.
In this regard, it's like,
I need some time.
Yeah. He's thinking about me. She's thinking about me.
I can't wait to read your new book. You had asked me to read it in the early stages, and I was so honored that I said yes right away, and then I had a baby.
Do not feel bad.
And I didn't read it then, but I'm actually glad, because I think I wouldn't have taken it in. It would have been like quickly trying to do something I said yes to. Right. And it's, I try and say yes and follow through. But I didn't on that.
Oh, I have good intentions, and I really mean well. And because of that, I do not ever get upset when someone's like, you know what, I can't. And I'm like, hey, I get it. I couldn't either. So there may be a time that I can't. Yeah. And so no, don't worry about it.
I know, but all that to say, now that everyone's sleeping, I'm really craving that though, like some alone time for myself to sit and read. I can't wait to read it. And this is number 2.
Yeah. Fight for her. Yeah. Even if you have to fight her. I wrote it to sort of revolutionize the way women communicate, because we are catty, and we're jealous, and we're comparison, and we gossip.
No.
We do. We do.
I never do that.
And it's one of those things, like how to fight for someone sometimes looks like fighting with them. So it's a kind of practical, written in story form of way to learn how to fight for someone, like being motivated by the Holy Spirit to speak truth and love to them, but also how to be fought with, to be the one that's actually being like fought with, to be fought for, because it's hard on either side. It's hard to actually go up to somebody and say, listen, I love you, but what are you doing? Yeah. It's also really hard to be the one that someone says, I love you, but what are you doing? And you're like, And so it was inspired by a conversation I had with my daughter when she was 2 or 3, and she was having a bad attitude. And as 2-3-year-olds do, you would know, they can do that sometimes. And I remember saying to her, like, you will change your attitude right now. No, ma'am, you're not going to act like this. And I said, I'll fight for you, even if I have to fight you. And when I said it, I was like, that's a book one day. And I was raised by a mom that fought for me and was willing to fight with me. She stayed the course, cared more about my holiness than happiness, knew when to not be my friend and to be my mom, and vice versa. And I found myself doing that with Clementine, so I thought, I'll write a book for mothers and daughters. And the second I got into it, I was convicted about it, because I was like, you know what? I need to take the experience that I've had of having a great mom and using those principles in my relationship with my daughter and write a book for all daughters, which is all women. That whether you had a parent like that or not, whether you ever have a daughter or not, you are a daughter, and there are a lot of daughters around you that might need you to fight for them, even if you have to fight them, because maybe they didn't have a dad like I did or that you did, that made you feel valued and beautiful and spoke like truth of what God says about you over you. And I think that's empowered me to go into a room with confidence, because my dad would kill tigers for me. And so if someone was in an opposition to me or unkind to me, my father would defend that. And now I feel like I connect that with who my father is, of like, when I'm doing what he's called me to do, he will fight for me. He will, rise to the occasion. And so I feel like that's empowered me and given me confidence that I see a lot of other women not having. And it's like, wait a minute, it's because they haven't been fought with for the right reasons, or they haven't been told the truth of who God says they are in the way that they would understand it. And so I was like, you know what? And sometimes it's just over a cup of tea, that you say, true. Listen, I'm having tea with you. I'm taking time to go to coffee. And it's investing in other women. You don't just walk up to somebody and say, why are your tatas hanging out?
Right.
You actually might have good reason to say that to her, because she's probably putting herself in a position of danger of like, you're going to be seen a certain way that's not good for you. Yeah. But maybe you should get to know her first and then be able to say, I love you. You might want to be careful about that, because this is what you may not realize. And so often, more often than we realize, people are living out a life sometimes in ignorance, because they're doing what feels good or looks beautiful or they're enjoying, and they're not seeing the pitfalls around them of like, listen, when you say things this way, or when you participate in this, or you wear that, or you go here, you put yourself in line of fire or danger or disrespect or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's like, if you really care about them and it's motivated by like the Lord speaking to you to show them love for their betterment, if they quit being your friend over that, you kind of have to be willing to let that happen. Because on the flip side of that, I will not say her name, but I went up to someone that we know by way of a Facebook message, which was the wrong, and I said to her, because she had released a new video, and I said to her, I said, man, I actually said, your tatas are hanging out everywhere in this video. What are you doing? And that was not received well, because we hadn't spent time with each other, quality time, in a while. And it just was received being judged. And apparently she'd spent money on those for them to be seen. And I didn't know that either. And so it just literally a web of just, and it just went down really bad. So years later, and I'm emphasis on years, was able to then send a text one day and said, if we could ever have coffee, I would want you to know that I shouldn't have said it that way. And I wasn't motivated by the Holy Spirit. I was motivated by like, with something that was good, because I was like, wait a minute, I don't feel like people are going to take you as serious when you're doing that. But I didn't wait on the Lord to prompt me and go to coffee and actually, and that doesn't mean that every single, truth that you ever speak has to be, you have to go to Starbucks for an hour to do that. But it's just, there is an order to communicating truth and love. And so the book Fight for Her, and I've had a ton of men come to me and say, the part that I talk about my dad speaking truth over me in it, has been really convicting to a lot of men, of saying, I don't speak that over my daughters. And so I need this book. And you're like, okay. And so I've had men really interested in it, of how did your dad speak truth over you and stand up to you, to stand up for you to have this empowered confidence. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's mostly for women, but
Yeah.
men can learn from it too.
I love that. I relate to that. I felt like Holy Spirit said to me, it's possible to do God things, but they have to be done in Holy Spirit timing. You can even do God things not in Holy Spirit timing.
Yeah.
And that's I'm just learning about that, because you think that
That's powerful though. That's a great.
Yeah, because it's not the same. You can't just be like, this is truth, I'm going to say it now.
Right.
Well, that's great that that's truth. Is that Holy Spirit asking you to share it? You know, and that's a tricky thing to learn for me. And so I need to read your book, but I love that I feel like your ability to be like, this is me and this is what I'm learning and this is me falling, is maybe why you're one of the only people I know that can write a song that is so truthful and so honest that it can be on Christian radio and on dance. Okay, wait, what's the dance club?
Dance club.
Like, you're playing in the club.
I know. It's so, I've had people ask, like, how do you get, like, because I've had songs in, like, film, TV shows, commercials, like, periodically throughout the course of many years of doing this.
Yeah.
I almost never have anything to do with that. It is when people have said, well, how did you get your song in this movie? Or how did you, like, a music supervisor stumbled upon a song that they felt like fit? Or
That's
how did,
amazing.
the remix thing, I had an A&R guy back in the day that loved EDM. And so he enlightened me that he was like, the way that you write songs, he said that the BPMs that you write in general, he said they're usually between this and this. And he said, that's a great space to remix. And he said, I don't think you do it on purpose, but the tempos that you write to and then the minor keys that you like to sing in.
I mean, yeah, when you put it that way.
And so it was never, I didn't do that on purpose, but he was like, if you write in this key and you write in this tempo, it's whatever. And so
I love it so much.
for whatever reason, people have remixed it. Well, then now the most recent song, Beautifully Broken, that was an intentional, hey, we're going to call Dave Auday because he's really well respected and he's great and he's done it before. We'll just give it to him.
Yeah.
Because apparently it's a thing.
Yeah.
And we'll just see what happens. And if nothing happens, with this particular one, there's
But lots happened.
But
it's
lots
like
happened.
At number 6.
7, yeah.
Goodness sakes.
It's amazing.
I love it so much because I feel like that would be something that maybe we could try for it. It'd be like,
Yeah.
wah, wah. But I just feel like that's
But I
such
think-
a beautiful gift.
And I think, honestly, because I'm a little ignorant to how it all works in that industry, that there's something endearing to them about how I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Because I think when someone's trying really hard for something, you'll meet some opposition. But when someone's like this, it's a little bit, I don't know, there's just, it breathes a little bit differently. And so when it came out and it debuted somewhere at 40, I was like, it's on the chart. Like,
Right?
that's awesome.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just celebrated that. Well, then it got to like 32 or something. And I was like, oh, wow, it actually moved up. That's cool. So by the time it got to, I think it was 18, that I was like, I can't believe this is in the top 20. I'm sure it's going to go away now, but whatever.
No,
And then when it did go 10, my manager called and said, that's great. This is great. But it's probably going to start falling now. Like, you can just go ahead and expect that. And then it went to 7. And so I don't know. I really do truly doubt it will be a number 1.
I want to go find a club and dance to your song in the club. I mean, come on.
just be like,
We'll just make that happen at home because that's so worth celebrating, though.
it is fun. It's just a fun little tidbit.
No, but it is. We have to celebrate these things, especially when they like are so clearly God just going, hey, here.
Yeah.
Like who you are, the music you make, just that's what happened.
Yeah.
I feel like our first winter jam that we were on together, someone said to me, an artist that it might have even been Corey Cooper. I don't even know. Someone who had been doing it for a long time said to me that she'd realized that things that she built herself, she had to maintain, and things that the Lord builds and just gives, he maintains. And it really stuck with me because I've been on both sides of that.
Yes. Yep.
And yeah, it's such a clear feeling. It. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
Because we do need to work hard. Like, you still wrote that song.
Right.
But what came back to you from it was something obviously the Lord just wanted to do, which feels effortless maybe.
It does feel effortless. At the same time, you want to respond to it with faithfulness. And so I was like,
that's
you know
good,
what?
Right there.
So, like, for something I can do is I can post about it and share that, like, hey, that's happening.
Yeah.
And then I sent handwritten thank you notes to all the different mixers that were playing it and just said thank you.
That's awesome.
And it was like, that's something small that I can do that's meant a lot to them. Because a lot of them were like, well, she's a, predominantly Christian artist, so she probably won't tag us, because some of them, their lifestyles and their their Instagram pages or whatever are very different than mine. But I've still tagged them.
Yeah.
And still, and I had someone tell me the other day, like they clicked on a few of the different, and they're like, wow. And I said, but you know what? It just shows that like that for what it's worth, the song it's called Beautifully Broken. I don't even know if we mentioned that, but the song itself is truth. And to me, the fact that it's doing what it's doing says that people are hungry to know that no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter what's been done to you, you can be whole and you have value simply because of who created you. Like that alone makes you beautiful. And I think that there's just a lot of brokenness out there that you want to hear, but I'm still good, right? I'm still okay, right? And I'm no different. Like I have brokenness in me. And to know like, you know what, because I'm yours, that alone gives me value and worth. And you are what can make it whole.
I just love you.
Well, I love you. Thanks for having me.
I feel like I want to be a better communicator, especially among my girlfriends, because I feel like sort of success for me and a richness in life is largely gauged by my relationships. And the vibe and the atmosphere in my house and around me.
Yeah.
And I used to think that was an intangible thing, but it is actually something we create. We do create atmospheres.
Yes.
Everywhere we go. And I feel like I'm such a stronger woman with strong relationships and strong women challenging me. So anyway, you're that for me in the few times that I've gotten to be with you and in your atmosphere. Yeah. And your book is that atmosphere, so I want to read it. And I'm going to dance to your song in our house, and that's going to create atmosphere for our boys that love to party.
I tell people too sometimes when they'll say, because I do talk a lot about, just in general, that I talk about community, but like community was a huge way that Jeremy and I reconciled our marriage. Community is a huge way for me to even do what I do for a job. Yeah. That they are helping with my kids or my whatever. And
you can't do it in a vacuum, that's for sure.
You can't. And when I say this, it's usually a little off-putting, but like, if you don't have that, it's your fault. But it's possible to have. And so I felt like part of the reason I wrote the book was like, some of those relationships, like we want that community, but we don't want to be it sometimes. And so sometimes when people are having a baby, we need to go and bring them a meal. When someone's moving, we need to pack a box. When they're sick, we need to check on them. When they have a birthday and we know about it, say happy birthday. Yeah. Like, and when they're having a get together that you kind of don't feel like going to, maybe stopping by it, and then maybe even having them over to your house, you know? And you may think my house isn't nice enough or the meal's not going to taste good. Order a $5 Little Caesars pizza and play cards. Yeah. But like be to people what you kind of need them and want them to be to you, that social capital. Yeah. And the women in our lives especially, like it's so important to have ones that aren't catty. Yeah. And that are like cheering you on and being like, your song's doing so great. I'm proud of my friend, as opposed to, well, it's not really that good. Like having that in your life is so important and so meaningful. So to be that.
I totally agree. And I feel like the older that I get, the more okay I am in my own skin. And the more I know what I bring and what I don't, and what different friends bring into my life. And I used to make the mistake of thinking that one friend needed to be all things for me.
Me too. I did that.
And that's just not the case. So just
it's a
loving
lot of
each
pressure
other
on one person
It
too.
is. It's just loving each other for who we are. And
sorry, Melissa. I'm thinking of that.
Right. No, totally. I had this conversation with my mom, and my mom says that she's just learning that. It's like we just all, anyway, we need each other, bottom line. And so we love you. Thanks for sitting at our house in the middle of your busy life.
Oh, I
you
love
took
y'all
time
too.
and did what you just said. So thanks.
Well, you had me over.
Yeah, true. Cheers. So truly Canadian of us, we never ask people to rate our podcast because we're always like, no, whatever. But we do need you to rate our podcast so more people find it. So if you can go to iTunes, go rate us, give us the big 5-star. Love you guys.